What does a trial have to do with an expedited removal in a state to Guatemala? You don't know this stuff, and it's so impossible for me to give you a book, a 300-page understanding of what happened. But the problem is I have to deal with people like this who don't know, don't read, and then vote on it. And no matter how many times, I say it 500,000 times, pull the documents and prove it.
Because he wasn't just removed to that country. He was also then placed in effectively a gulag or torture dungeon.
Which branch has authority?
He was also
Which
then placed,
branch has the authority?
I'm not disputing that
Okay,
this
just
falls
answer
under.
the question.
I'm not disputing that this falls under the executive.
So why would he get a trial? You read a thing that claimed he didn't have a trial. That's a lie and manipulation.
They were not just trying to deport him illegally to a country that he was not supposed to be removed to, but they were also trying to imprison him, even though he hasn't committed or been, like he hadn't.
The United States did not imprison him.
No, we just deported him illegally. Correct.
What? No, incorrect.
We deported him illegally, and then he was in prison and confined at CCOT, which is a torture dungeon.
Oh my God.
He was.
You read a bunch of activist AI slop garbage. Believe it and don't fact check.
So you don't think that CCOT has prolific human rights violations going on?
Trump sent him to
it's a foreign country.
You said I just read a bunch of like bullshit that made me think
you
this.
Literally
so you're
on your phone just read a bunch of AI slop. Garbage activist stuff.
Wikipedia is AI slop.
Let's start this.
Stuff.
You read that he was illegally deported without a trial. I am asking you why he would get a judicial hearing when immigration is the purview of the executive branch.
I said he was imprisoned without trial.
Indeed. Why would?
Okay, but you just mischaracterized what I just said.
So do we run El Salvador's courts?
No, we don't.
Then why would we write that he got a trial or didn't? It's not related to the executive branch. It's a foreign country.
He was removed to that country specifically.
Is it his home country?
Confined. It doesn't matter.
You don't know, do you?
He was not.
Did he have a stay of deportation to El Salvador?
No, I can't remember.
He did not. It was Guatemala. This is the insufferable thing. You've taken a strong position on something you just don't understand.
So what does that matter?
The executive branch has sole purview for deportation.
He was not supposed to be sent to that country, correct?
No.
No, he was supposed to be sent to that country?
Yes, he had an order for deportation. The stay was for Guatemala. And the Biden administration and Trump, through his own failures, didn't do it properly.
Why was he supposed to be sent to that country?
He had an order for immediate deportation.
From the Trump administration. You think that was right?
That if the State Department wants to deport somebody, they can, yes.
I'm not asking if they can. I'm asking if you think it's right.
In the specific instance of Abrego Garcia, was it right for him to be deported? The answer is yes.
And it was right for him to be imprisoned at CCOT.
I am not El Salvador. What El Salvador does is beyond the United States borders.
You don't have to be El Salvador. Just answer the question. Was it right for him to be imprisoned at CCOT?
If he is if El Salvador finds him to be a criminal, yes, 100%.
So yes, you're saying yes, it was right for him to be in prison there.
So if El Salvador finds that their own citizen should go to prison, that's their business.
But he hasn't even been found to have.
That's not us. We are not El Salvador.
You don't have to be El Salvador to have an opinion on this.
My opinion is El Salvador can conduct their affairs as they see fit, and if they determine he should go to prison, he should.
But they didn't determine that. He was just put there.
They did. They put him in prison.
He was just put there.
Because El Salvador decided he should be.
Yeah, but did he have a fair trial?
Does China have fair trials?
I didn't ask if China has fair trials, and that's completely irrelevant.
Did he have a fair trial? If he had an El Salvadoran fair trial or not, I'm not El Salvador, nor do I think the U.S. should invade El Salvador or Venezuela.
No, if he had a fair trial, and yet you'd be fine with him being imprisoned.
He did have a fair trial.
Okay, El Salvador's policy is very clear. Anyone with gang affiliation is going to get in prison in CCOT, and he was found to have gang affiliation. That's their law.
What was the gang affiliation that he was found of?
Chandeagua.
It's actually, they accused him of being part of MS-13.
Was it? He's also.
But he was never credibly found. Like, do you remember when Trump?
By who?
The Trump administration was saying that those photoshopped MS-13. Yeah.
And because Trump thought
you just said that he was in Chandeagua.
I got it wrong. I was wrong about that.
Yeah. Okay. So what did he do then? What crime did he commit?
That's up to El Salvador to decide.
Okay. He's not a member of MS-13, though.
I don't care. I literally don't care. He's not American either.
So you don't care
a citizen of El Salvador,
if somebody is imprisoned in CCOT, even if they've not committed a crime, and even if they've not been given any due process of law or had a trial.
He was here illegally. I don't care.
No. We're not talking about it. We're talking about El Salvador. For the same reason, I don't think we should remove Maduro. I don't give a fuck what El Salvador does with their own citizens. I am not El Salvador. I don't want to invade El Salvador. I don't want to impose American hegemonic democratic principles on El Salvador or Venezuela or Afghanistan, Iran, China, or Russia. So right now, what I can't stand is this argument that El Salvador imprisoned a guy. I don't give a fuck what they did. He's El Salvadoran in El Salvador. China's imprisoning Uyghur Muslims and raping them and forcing them to get abortions. That's miserably evil. We can say we don't want to do trade deals with them. That's fine. The U.S. went in and removed Maduro, and liberals are furious about it. Yet at the same time, they're arguing that we should impose American hegemonic principles on El Salvador. I'm sick of it. My principles are pretty dang simple. I'm American. I don't give a flying F what El Salvador, China, or these other countries are doing with their people. I can have moral opposition to it, but I'm not going to demand that we send our military or use the weight to force them to change their institutions. That being said, I think we can sanction China over the rape of the Uyghur Muslims. We shouldn't be trading with people that brutally rape women and force them to get abortions. We can make an argument that we should cut off our trade deals with El Salvador because of CCOT. My point ultimately is.
But so if you only care about what the American government is doing, then do you agree that he should not have been sent there?
He is not an American citizen. And as someone who is not an American citizen, he should go home.
But that is
he doesn't have legal status here.
He
doesn't have legal status here. He came here illegally, and there is no obligation for the American people to allow a criminal to be here.
Where or how the United States government deports individuals?
Absolutely not.
You don't care if their due process rights are violated. You don't care if the government lies about that.
There is a process for which for them to enter, though.
I'm asking
if you care about
those things. No. I'm asking if
Agreed.
you
Let me be
don't
very
care
clear.
about those things.
If someone comes here from China illegally, they violate our laws and then seek to subvert the will of the American voter, they should be arrested for the crime they committed. And you know what it is? Imagine if someone broke into your house and the worst thing you did to them was give them a ride home. And then it's like a stupid thing to argue. Like a guy broke into my house and is stealing my food. And I'm like, hey, whoa, would you like a ride home? So that's what we do. A guy comes here from El Salvador illegally. We issue an order for deportation. We send him home. Then everyone's going.
An illegal order because he was not supposed to.
It was a legal order of deportation. And he had a stay for removal from the country of Guatemala due to a rival gang. Where this goes is very confusing and weird because the argument was made in the media that he had a stay of deportation to El Salvador when in fact it was Guatemala. Now, some have argued it was a typo in the initial stay, but I'm like, well, if that's the case, when we read it says Guatemala, so he can be sent back to El Salvador. Now, the issue of the administrative error was actually disputed in the Trump administration with Stephen Miller saying no. As he is a member of MS-13, executive purview on matters of national security.
He was never found to be a member of MS-13.
He was found by a court, yes, twice.
Which court?
There's an immigration court that asserted 2 times that he was wearing MS-13 gear.
Making an assertion is different than them actually having evidence that he was part of MS-13.
He doesn't get judicial trials in an immigration executive branch court.
Do you acknowledge that it's 2 different things between actually proving that somebody is part of a gang versus somebody making the assertion that they are?
What does that
evidence?
Have to do with what we're talking about?
Because
you're changing the subject.
You just said that this person is a confirmed member of MS-13.
An immigration court
and you said that was
found that he was a member of MS-13.
You said they asserted that he was. That's
Indeed.
Different than them finding that he was.
Because there's no trial for this in the executive branch. Executive is action, not judiciary.
And this was the other thing. This is Supreme Court says
Trump
fake. Officials should help return wrongly deported Maryland man. The Supreme Court has ordered the Trump admin to facilitate the return to the U.S. of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man who was mistakenly taken to El Salvador and remains in custody there.
He's not a Maryland man. He's an El Salvadoran who was illegally living in Maryland.
So if you live in Maryland for 10 years, you can't be considered part of, like, a Maryland man.
No, but the language is being used to manipulate the general public because the real issue is
you agree that
a man from El Salvador came here illegally, had an order for removal, argued that he'd be killed by a Guatemalan gang, got a stay of removal to not go back to Guatemala. Stephen Miller and the Trump administration argued that an immigration court, twice having found him an affiliate of MS-13, he was an entry-level guy. They were going to deport him back to his home country. Then when he got there, El Salvador decided that because they thought he was a member of a gang, they imprisoned him.
Even though he wasn't, even though they have no evidence of that?
It doesn't matter what El Salvador thinks. We're not El Salvador. That's it. End of story. I'm not going to make an argument about what Ghana thinks or what Zimbabwe thinks.
You and I can look at the underlying evidence that's being used to say that he's gang affiliated.
You are just saying things to be tribal.
And you're saying that because we're not in El Salvador, we can't have an opinion on it? Obviously,
no, you can have an opinion on it. But like, you're asking me about, do you believe that the U.S. should assert judicial authority over El Salvador?
How do you mean?
Do you think that we should force other countries to adhere to our frame of law?
It depends on the context.
What? Okay. Should a...
I do. I do believe that we should not be deporting individuals to countries where they're going to face ridiculous human rights abuses.
Going to prison is a human rights abuse?
Yes. If you have never been
going to prison is a human rights abuse.
When you have not been actually found guilty of a crime, when you've not actually committed any crime, when you've not been given a trial,
you're asserting
when
things
your
that's true
process rights are violated, then that would be wrong.
That okay.
You don't know.
We got to pause real quick because you keep saying due process, but you don't know what it means.
And this is the other thing. In a brief unsigned decision issued Thursday,
you keep saying it because
the court sided with the district court judge
who
had ordered Abrego Garcia back to the U.S.
Mean.
The order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador, the Supreme Court said in its ruling. It was a 9-0 ruling.
And?
Even Trump's appointees agreed that
and they're wrong quite a bit.
Violated.
That's okay. We are in a state of political adjudication with back and forth. The dude's got 2 more pending removals. Now he's going to Ghana. Or where's he going, to Eritrea?
One of those.
I mean, like, the amount of things on Kilmer Abrego Garcia are ludicrous, right? The amount of...
I agree, but not for the same reasons.
Yeah, liberals are defending a guy who's not a citizen, and they're lying about it. They repeatedly... And don't get me wrong, conservatives are fucking retarded,
what liberals
too.
Are defending is
Republicans
people
come out and go, non-citizens don't
violated.
get due process, and that was never true. They're just dumb. Okay? Due process means under law, you, in your circumstances, what are you due in the courts that they must adhere to? Immigration courts are part of the executive branch, and the executive branch does not have trials for these people. A judge just said, goodbye. Judicial courts can have trials or bench hearings. Liberals don't understand any of these things, and more importantly, I would say the proselytizers at the highest level just say whatever they have to justify their ideological whims. The point is, America should be America and should not be enforcing its will on other countries. And if you are not from this country, the State Department has sole discretion to remove you from this country. End of story. Even permanent residents under the law can have their permanent residency revoked in finger snap by the Secretary of the State. So this whole argument is fake. And it started with a conversation around him having his due process rights violated.
You're defending
because
this,
liberals
even though
think
the
due
Trump
process
admin,
means a jury trial.
I have a question for you, though. But so you don't think that someone entering the country...
Really quick, I will answer your question.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the Trump administration had admitted that they had made an administrative error in sending him to El Salvador to CCOT. And you are even going, and then they retracted that.
Pause real quick.
And you're going further
they retracted that, right?
to defend all of this.
They retracted that?
Okay.
Hold on. They retracted the administrative error statement?
Yeah, they walked it back because they're trying to cover their ass.
What exactly did they say in the retraction?
Trump administration admits Maryland man sent to El Salvador prison by mistake. The Trump admin is getting blowback for confirmed and potential errors in its rush to deport hundreds of men to El Salvador last month. On Monday night, immigration officials admitted to deporting a Maryland man to El Salvador due to a quote-unquote administrative error. Kilmer Abrego Garcia, who lived in the with his U.S. citizen wife and child, was identified as being on one of the 3 deportation flights to El Salvador last month that are the subject of several lawsuits. Immigration advocates claimed those flown to El Salvador did not receive due process. The admin used the 3 flights to quickly deport over 300 men accused of being members of MS-13.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but just because I want to just get to the point, it's what did they say in their retraction?
Look,
let's find the retraction.
I mean,
so I'll tell you. It was an administrative official, not in the highest level of the cabinet, who said there was an administrative error here. That was a singular statement by a low-level official. Probably about a week after this, the highest level of Trump's cabinet said they were incorrect. We have asserted executive authority on national security issues for expedited removal. That is our purview. Now, by all means, this is to be adjudicated. And right now, the Kilmer Abrego Garcia thing is the most convoluted bullshit of a story imaginable because he's got like 5 orders of deportation now, including to like literally, is it Eritrea? Or was it Ghana? What ridiculous country? I don't know. It's just like...
It was a JV one. It was a JV country.
It's just a ridiculous thing. The point is, we are not dealing with functions of the Constitution and law, which was the initial argument you asked about constitutional deportations. We are dealing with hyper-partisan justifications. Yes. And the liberals making an argument about due process in foreign countries, and the right making an argument about national security threats. One thing remains. In the truest sense of what this law was codified to be and written down as, due process in immigration courts does not involve a judicial hearing, judicial warrant, nor jury or bench trial.
Okay, so
immigration courts are a singular executive official identified as an immigration judge, but they're not judicial, stamping something and saying expedited removal. End of story. That is due process.
So in his court filing on Monday, the Trump admin said ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, but still deported Abrego Garcia because of an administrative error. An ICE official called his deportation to El Salvador an oversight in a statement submitted to the court on Monday. Robert Cerna, ICE's acting field office director of enforcement and removal operations, wrote that it was carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal and Abrego Garcia's purported membership of MS-13. The admin argued against his return to the U.S., citing alleged gang ties and claiming that he is a danger to the community. They also argued that the courts lack jurisdiction in the matter because Abrego Garcia is no longer in U.S. custody. The admin wrote that Abrego Garcia's attorneys, quote, do not argue that the United States can exercise its will over foreign sovereign. The most they ask for is a court order that the United States can treat or control a close ally.
Now please read the retraction. Can you read the retraction?
I should retract my own claim because they actually did not issue a retraction. But what they did, as far as I could tell, no, it doesn't seem like. I thought they had. It seems like what they did is just double down on defending their decisions, even though they had admitted it was an error.
Do you think the State Department reserves the right to deport any illegal purely for being here illegally?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, because it's like that's part of the problem with the Abrego thing is it's like.
But there are legal means to remove people from the country.
Right.
They don't need to violate people's due process rights to do so.
So if we're able
if somebody is a gang, if
it's
a terrorist, it should be easy to remove them from the country legally.
They did. You're right the first time. They issued a retraction, dhs.gov. This is just one of the examples of an individual that as an MS-13 gang member, multiple charges and encounters with the individuals here, trafficking in his background, was found with other MS-13 gang members, very dangerous person. And what the liberal left and fake news are doing to turn him into a media darling is sickening. The retraction here in this video from Stephen Miller was that he said, let me see if I can pull up the actual, Tricia McLaughlin reaffirmed the MS-13 terrorist gang member is where he belongs. I think this illegal alien.
Sounds like the opposite of a retraction. That's what I say. I shouldn't have said that they retracted it. What they did is defend their decisions.
Very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you. Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for him?
So the point is, initially, an ICE official said that it was administrative error. The Trump administration cabinet said After the FTO designation of MS-13, that disqualified him from the immigration stay to Guatemala that he had.
They had no evidence to be even
Doesn't
designating him as a terrorist. It doesn't matter if they don't have evidence before they label
they have
somebody a terrorist.
Two courts ruled that he was MS-13.
So it doesn't matter to you that they had no evidence that he was actually part of MS-13.
Two courts.
What
It
evidence
doesn't matter
did
what
they
you're
have?
saying.
What
Two
evidence
courts
did they
ruled
have
he
that
was.
he was part of MS-13?
He was associated with known MS-13 gang members outside of MS-13 gang
So
territory.
just by knowing somebody within
in and around
MS-13
together.
means that you are part of MS-13 yourself?
Do you think if two courts rule that you are, that's enough or not enough?
I'm sorry, you didn't answer my question. So just knowing somebody in a gang, that means that you are also part of that gang.
He was in the gang.
You said that he is associated. I said, what's the evidence for that? And you said, well, he associated with people in.
Two courts found that he was wearing
But
their
I'm
gang colors,
asking
wearing their
you.
gang clothes. He was known by informants to be what's the term? His rank? Do you remember? Let me pull it up.
He was a lieutenant.
And it's been so no. He was it's a provisionary. It's a Spanish word. Let me figure out what the there's a word for the lowest level, and is this it right here? I think I got it. Was it? No. I am not a robot.
Checo.
Was it
C-H-E,
Checo?
Checo.
Yeah. He was a Checo in MS-13, meaning he was like a probationary entry-level member. Two courts found this. I don't understand. I got it. Okay, let's just roll with it.
So
the point is this: we have immigration courts for a reason? Let's see. Member of Princess George County. This is the arrest report, I think. Which one? This? Yeah, Chico. Chicao. He was a Chicao, known as Maniaco and MS-13 in their sailors clique. Let's see. Officers interviewed with Jose Guillermo Domingos. During the interview, officers observed tattoos and skulls covering the eyes, out of his mouth. Blah, 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 blah. See no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. He also had a tattoo of a devil on his left leg. This presents power with an MS-13 officers made contact with a past, proven, and reliable source of information who advised Dominguez, the officer,
was indicative of the Hispanic gang culture.
An active MS-13 gang member with the sailors clique, the rank of Chicao, and the moniker of Maniaco.
That was his buddy.
And that wearing the Chicago Bulls hat represents that they are a member in good standing with MS-13. That's
officers that interviewed Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia during the interview as officers. He observed he's wearing a Bulls hat and a hoodie with rolls of money covering his eyes, ears, and mouth of the presidents on the separated denominations. Officers know such clothing to be indicative of the Hispanic gang culture. The meaning of the clothing is to represent ve oír y calar. See no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. Wearing the Bulls hat represents that they are a member in good standing with MS-13.
Hat.
Officers, I did say Chicago Bulls. Wearing the officers contacted a past proven and reliable source of information who advised Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an active member of MS-13 with the Westerns clique. The confidential source further advised that he is the rank of Chicao with the moniker of Chele. Officers interviewed Jason Josu, how do you say it? Ramirez Herrera during the interview. They were unable to determine his gang affiliation. Officers know MS-13 gang members are only allowed to hang around other members or prospects for the gang. Officers will continue, blah, blah, blah. The point is,
so no testimony,
there exists evidence.
No criminal history.
What do you mean? There's two witness testimony included in this.
Corroborating
you're just
evidence
making things up at
that
this point.
he's wearing certain clothes that they're trying to say is synonymous with MS-13 Hispanic gang culture.
Is that evidence?
No.
Yes, it is. Is it proof? No. Is it evidence? Yes.
Oh, sorry. That's what I should say.
Right. And you asked before if there was evidence.
Yes.
You said there was none. Now there is.
No. Is it evidence? Yes. Is it good evidence? No. Is it proof? Absolutely not.
This is why we can't have nice things.
The evidence is that he wears a Chicago Bulls hat and has skull tattoos. You know
no,
that the Chicago Bulls are
see
a
no evil,
widely
hear no evil,
popular
say no evil
basketball team.
tattoos.
And that means that he's in a gang?
That's an MS-13 gang tattoo.
So if you got that tattoo tomorrow, that would mean you're an MS-13.
No, but it likely is affiliation, especially if you're hanging out with MS-13 gang members.
Like all of his boys are in MS-13.
You said no, but it would
he got gang tattoos hanging out with MS-13, but he's not a member.
No, they kicked him out. Yeah, he's like,
but he's still friends.
Yeah, you're a little too into the Bulls.
But if you got it, it wouldn't be evidence.
Did you know that if you wear black and gold in
MS-13.
Chicago, you'll get shot?
So if you had that tattoo, it wouldn't be evidence that you're an MS-13.
It would be evidence, yes.
Just
evidence and proof are two different things.
Right. I agree with you.
So you said before there was no evidence.
In this case, you're saying it's evidence and proof that he's an MS-13. That's the claim that you made.
No. Let's just be clear for everybody to make sure we're closing things up.
Yeah, you think that wearing a Chicago Bulls cap and having a tattoo can mean that you're an MS-13.
Let's try and be clear here.
Yeah, I said there's no evidence, and then
please stop so I can make the point.
And I said it's
let's
weak
be clear.
Evidence. Yeah.
Before you said there was no evidence, and perhaps that was a misspeak, but now we recognize there is some evidence.
It was a misspeak. Sorry.
Okay.
It's extremely weak evidence.
Two immigration courts determined the evidence was sufficient to prove he was a member of MS-13. Right?
Do you agree with them?
Doesn't matter.
Do you agree with them? Yes or no?
But it doesn't matter.
Why do you agree with them? Because of his clothing, that's
law enforcement
Even
found
though, again, no criminal history, no testimonies.
What do you mean no criminal history? He was caught trafficking people.
No.
He's on camera doing it!
Yeah, he's been accused of trafficking individuals because he was stopped. There was a traffic stop.
He had a bunch of people from Mexico driving to Maryland that they said they were doing for work.
And he has been, but he's not been, that's still
okay, hold on.
He's not actually been found to have
This is,
traffic.
again, off topic.
And if that's your standard for human trafficking, then
Greg
Abbott and Ron DeSantis moving those illegal immigrants around the country to Martha's Vineyard, that is also human trafficking.
Changing the subject. Did two courts find him to be members of MS-13?
To my understanding, there's court documents that have been submitted, and this is the evidence that he's in MS-13.
Did two courts rule him to be?
No, I don't believe so.
You are wrong. They did. Two courts did.
No, court documents being submitted saying
said
which judges?
He is, and then he appealed, and another judge said yes, he is.
Which judge?
Okay, let's pull it up. My God, sophistry. DHS.
I found it. The judge who presided over his 2019 case said that based on the confidential information, there was sufficient evidence to support Mr. Abrego Garcia's gang membership. That finding was later upheld by another judge.
Okay. So do you agree that two judges found to be members of member of MS-13?
Yes.
Okay. Then, based on the FTO designation,
but based on
that
the
supersedes the stay from CSIS.
Based on the evidence that has been presented to the public,
he can appeal that.
If his due process rights are honored,
no, hold on.
That's a very tenuous connection, in my opinion.
No, hold on. So now that two judges, actually it was an appellate judge, I believe it was three. So it's initially one, then three. After they found that he was, and then maybe they were wrong. Okay, this gives the federal government the authority to deport him under the FTO designation, which is what Stephen Miller asserted. He then gets sent to his home country. There's no appeal after that. What El Salvador does with their own citizens
he was deported in error.
No, he wasn't.
So we led to the circumstances where he could not.
He was not in error because I already showed you Stephen Miller pointing out that was an ICE official and they were wrong, and under the FTO designation,
so if Stephen Miller says something, that means that it's true.
Because Trump declare MS-13 a foreign terrorist organization?
Yeah, I believe so.
He did, and under the INA, you can remove. There's no immigration protections. You are disqualified immediately upon that designation because immigration courts are executive, not judiciary. When that happens, they say the executive stay you were granted by our officials is hereby void, and they can deport him, and that's what they did.
So you think it's fair that he's deported and admitted in an error, and then after he's removed to an After he's deported to another country,
he was not
then we
deported
say
in
we
error.
no longer have jurisdiction, even though he shouldn't have been put there in the first place. And then the Supreme Court says that's correct. He needs to be brought back.
This is why I say you're just a liar.
Why am I a liar?
We've already concluded it wasn't an error.
No,
you said two judges confirmed he was MS-13, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And MS-13 is an FTO, foreign terrorist organization.
The Trump administration designates as such. Correct.
The Immigration and Naturalization Act
I will say
allows for the disqualification
drug cartels
of a stay.
As foreign terrorist organizations is a bit strange to me.
If you want to argue the law should be changed, take it up with Congress. Don't then say it was an error when we've already shown you under the law it was not.
What am I supposed to take up with Congress?
That you want the law to change. The INA says that a foreign terrorist is disqualified from immigration reprieve.
Do you think it's correct that he's designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations?
Do you support cartels?
That's an opinion, and immaterial to whether.
What I said?
No, I'm asking.
No, this is an opinion question, immaterial to the conversation we're having.
So you think that it's correct to designate cartels as foreign terrorist
We
organizations?
are not talking about that. We're talking about whether Kilmer Abrego Garcia was lawfully deported.
Can you just answer that question? If you think it's correct that MS-13 was designated a foreign terrorist organization?
Don't know.
You don't know? Why not?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Okay, but that is the basis that's being used to deny this person due process under your argument.
I don't understand why, no matter how many times we explain due process, you don't understand what it is.
Trump administration says this is a foreign terrorist
organization. Did Kilmer
organization.
Abrego Garcia get 2 court hearings?
There were 2 judges that reviewed evidence that said that there's sufficient evidence to say that he is part of MS-13.
Is that
which
due
he
process?
disputes and his lawyers
is that
are
due
currently
process?
adjudicating.
Is that due process?
Yes. I'm not saying that he has not been He has not.
So he had his due process.
No, you can have due process violated in one area and then honored in another. That's not contradictory.
So two
whatsoever.
courts find him to be a member of MS-13.
Back in 2019.
The immigration courts are under the executive branch, not the judiciary.
That was back in 2019.
The executive branch then designates MS-13 an FTO. Then that nullifies an executive stay to deportation to Guatemala that he had. But they didn't send him to Guatemala anyway. They sent him to El Salvador. After the fact, it's up to El Salvador what to do with an El Salvadoran. Sounds like due process to me.
Due process is when you deport someone in error, which you dispute.
We just agreed it wasn't in error because you said he had two courts. What was the error?
In 2019.
What was the error?
In 2019, he was found to have been.
What was the error?
The error is that he was not supposed to be deported to that country.
Guatemala?
To CICOT.
To Guatemala, you mean?
To El Salvador.
No, the stay was for Guatemala. The stay was for Guatemala.
That doesn't mean that he was supposed to be deported to El Salvador.
The stay was that he couldn't be sent to Guatemala.
Can you hear me? I said that does not mean that he was supposed to be deported to El Salvador.
They can deport him. They can deport him to any country they want.
I'm not saying that they can't deport him. I'm saying
so
that
how is
he
it an
was
error
not supposed to be.
If the stay of deportation was to Guatemala and he was sent to El Salvador, what's the error?
He was sent to a prison in El Salvador.
No, El Salvador imprisoned him. We didn't send him there.
This is what I mean, where it ends up being a lot like
we are not El
the
Salvador.
Circumstances to justify itself, which is that they put him in a situation where he is deported to El Salvador and imprisoned there, and then we declined to have jurisdiction.
What was the error?
The Supreme Court said 9-0 that he was not given adequate due process rights to make a claim against the government once they had been trying to imprison him, even though he had not actually been found guilty of a crime.
What was the error?
That he had not been found guilty of a crime yet. No. Nonetheless, he was imprisoned to an El Salvador prison.
That wasn't the error. You said he was deported in error. What was the error?
The error is that he had a stay of removal and he was not supposed to be deported.
Except the stay of removal, according to the INA, is disqualified upon foreign terrorist designation.
But you
if you want to change the law, take it up with Congress.
Earlier in this, you would not say that you think it's correct for drug cartels to be designated as foreign terrorist organizations.
I don't know.
But that's the basis.
You know why I said that? Because you're changing the subject.
That's the basis.
You're changing the subject.
No, it's part of the subject. It's part of
if
this.
That's
the basis for you saying that he ought to be deported.
If you want to change the law, take it up with Congress.
By coming here.
Take it up with Congress.
That's where
Congress changes laws. Right now, the INA says the president has the authority to designate an FTO, and if you do, your reprieve, immigration reprieve, is disqualified. That is all in the law. There's no error there.
And you think all of that's correct?
It's factually correct.
You think all that's moral?
Morally correct is take up the law.
So you think all that's moral?
This is ad hominem.
Really
right?
quick.
Ad hominem.
How is that an ad hominem?
I'm just going to say that every time you do this. The question is, was there an error? And we've concluded the answer is no.
There was an error. Just because Stephen Miller says that there was no error, do you want me to reread it again? I can reread it again.
It's like you're like you're agreeing with everything, but then failing to connect the dots.
So do you want me to reread it again? Or
reread what? Your post hoc, out of context statement? We've already concluded that Trump did designate the cartels foreign terrorist organizations. You asked me a moral question on it, which I ignored because it's not material to the question of whether there was a functional administrative error, to which the Trump administration
said... What's a functional administrative error?
An administrative error that causes to the function of immigration. And there wasn't one. There wasn't. The FTO nullified the stay to Guatemala, which he wasn't sent to anyway.
So you do realize that Stephen Miller saying that doesn't undermine that, again, ICE calls deportation an oversight in its court filing on Monday.
Stephen Miller saying it was the retraction I told you they made.
Said
not
ICE
an assertion
was aware
of
his protection from removal to El Salvador, but still deported Abrego Garcia because of an administrative error.
It's like...
An ICE official called his deportation an oversight in a statement submitted to the court on Monday.
And then they retracted it, which I showed you. Stephen Miller's statements aren't law. It's evidence of the administration retracting a statement from an ICE official at the highest levels.
They targeted him for deportation and removal, even though
he already
doesn't seem...
That was a long time ago. He had an order for deportation years ago.
And removal.
Years ago.
Obviously.
Then he was granted a stay. Right? He was granted a stay after the fact of deportation to Guatemala, which means he could have been deported anywhere. And under the law, he was supposed to leave himself. So there's no error. But I think you're just saying these things because it's political tribesmanship.
But you think this is all moral?
Well, see, that's a totally different question.
Yeah,
do you want to end the previous conversation and go to the next one?
You can answer the question first.
All right, so let's just do this. Previous conversation is concluded. Now let's talk about whether or not it is moral to deport non-citizens. 100%.
Do you think it was moral how Kilmar Abrego Garcia was treated?
Yes.
Yes?
Mm-hmm. It was actually the utmost of morality, and
even though he had not actually been.
It's a different conversation.
Why? So how is it unrelated?
You already
to this?
granted that being here illegally in and of itself is grounds for deportation.
When did I grant?
When I asked you as being here illegally in and of itself grounds for deportation.
I said that the government has the ability to deport anybody at any time, correct? But that does not mean that they can't come up with ludicrous reasons to deport someone, in my opinion.
But the question I was going to ask you before was, why wouldn't someone like Kilmar have gone through the process the right way? Are you okay with him not going through the process and just coming here illegally?
No, I don't think it's good that people come here illegally.
Then we can deport them with
just
impunity.
because, no, we can't.
But wouldn't that be
with
the first
impunity.
crime? Wouldn't that be the first problem?
No.
Before everything else that you guys were just debating?
No, because the reality is that just because you commit a crime or you come here illegally or you cross the port of entry illegally, even though the majority of illegal immigration is a result of people overstaying visas, it's not even because they're illegally entering into the United States. It means that they had legal means to come into the United States, and then something expires, they're here legally. But if they cross the port of entry illegally, that does not mean that the state can do whatever they want in response to that.
The state has the Secretary of State has total authority to deport people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't say that they don't have total authority. I said that they can't do anything that they want.
Yes, they can.
In the process of doing that.
When you have total authority, you can say, okay, we're just going to send you out. Absolutely.
Yeah. But you're portraying it like we are throwing them in a gulag, which is not what's happening.
You don't think Sikat's a gulag?
It's not us.
It's El Salvador.
And also, for the record,
we facilitated. We literally put him on a plane. We put him on a plane.
Right.
And then he was immediately landed in El Salvador and then transferred to that prison.
If he knew that the gulags were that bad, then maybe he should have gotten his paperwork done.
He landed in El Salvador,
you're
and then
acknowledging, though, that he was put on a plane by the United States government.
And they put him in prison.
And then put in an El Salvador prison. And you're saying that that's not the United States government.
He was deported to El Salvador.
Are you saying that that's not the actions of the United States government doing that?
Putting him in a gulag, supposedly, that's nothing to do with us.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.